Queen and David Bowie probably said it best back in 1981, under pressure. That's what we're talking about this week. And atmospheric pressure is just the force per unit area that our atmosphere is pushing down on us. The weight of the air molecules above you, if you took a column of air right above us. And it pushes down on us with a good amount of weight, but it's a lot more the closer you are to sea level compared to at higher elevation. So our air pressure decreases with increasing height. That's why at the tops of mountain peaks you often need oxygen to supplement that, or you have altitude sickness because the air is a lot thinner at that height compared to down at the surface, and there's more atmospheric pressure the closer you are to sea level. So at sea level we have about 14.7 pounds per square inch of atmospheric pressure pushing down on us. And that's pressure applied to all sides of our body, and we're obviously used to this pressure, but it's still a constant force that's pushing down on us. The average sea level pressure that meteorologists use, this unit here is called millibars, is 1,013 millibars. That's the average pressure throughout the entire world. And we can look in terms of high pressure and low pressure centers on weather maps. High pressure is generally higher than this value. Low pressure generally lower than that value. Low pressure, stormy weather with air generally rising in the atmosphere, less air molecules in that column of air, versus high pressure, air sinking, calmer weather usually, more air molecules in that column of air, leading to that higher pressure. So normal range in pressure in terms of this millibar unit of measurement is between 980 and 1,040. The highest pressure on record is 1,084 millibars recorded in Siberia on a really clear and cold day. The lowest pressure on record throughout the whole world is 870 millibars recorded with a typhoon over the Pacific Ocean. So generally with these typhoons or hurricanes we see the lowest pressures. In terms of our area, Grand Forks had a lowest pressure reading of 964 millibars all time, and for Bismarck and Williston the lowest pressure on record is 973 millibars, 974 for Minot, but much lower all-time records for the Gulf Coast and the eastern parts of the country where you can have more of those coastal systems that are a lot stronger. So pressure can also be measured in inches of mercury, and the earliest barometers, which were some of the first weather instruments that meteorologists used, were using mercury. And that just had the simple principle of, with more air pressure pushing down on a vat of mercury with a tube sticking up on it, that forced more mercury up that tube and resulted in a higher pressure reading. And some modern day barometers that are using more sensors instead of these more kind of back in the old times with mercury, they can have a graph like this where the higher pressure generally means fair weather, dry conditions, with lower pressure in terms of these inches of mercury, leading to more stormy or wet weather in that region. So if we look at a weather map across the United States in terms of pressure, just at each individual station, using the principle that pressure decreases with increasing height, there would constantly be areas of low pressure over the Rocky Mountains, over that higher elevation. So meteorologists need to adjust for that height difference, that elevation difference, to get a more level playing field. And what we do is we take a weather observation station at a mountain peak, we adjust that pressure to sea level with just a subtraction or an addition in order to get more of a level playing field from weather sites near sea level to weather sites that are a lot higher in elevation where they're just observing a lot lower pressure. So it gets a lot more of a level playing field when we're looking at a weather map which has areas of high pressure and low pressure and these lines of equal pressure called isobars. So here's just a generic example with a strong area of high pressure over the northwest US and a strong area of low pressure over the northeast. You can see how those isobars increase with higher pressure closer to that strong area of high pressure. And just as a sense of what a weather map would look like on a really stormy day across North Dakota, this was from last April's blizzard, April 14th, 2022. The strong area of low pressure over our region had a 990 millibar pressure reading. So it doesn't take a whole lot of fluctuation in that average pressure value in order to create pretty stormy and disturbed weather. Now, a lot of people take a look at these pressure readings because it impacts their health. Pressure fluctuations can cause health problems, especially for people that have chronic arthritis or chronic headaches. You can also have dizziness or fatigue because of these pressure changes. So this is just a graph of pressure from early April when we had a snowstorm moving through our area, an area of low pressure. You can see how that fluctuates daily from high pressure to low pressure. So what health problems can we be getting from some of these pressure changes? If you just have a strong area of high pressure overhead, that leads to more weight pushing on our joints and tissue. Remember, we have more air molecules above us, and that limits the amount of expansion that these tissues and joints can have. Now, what most people have problems with is big changes in pressure, especially from high pressure to low pressure. You kind of feel that a storm system is coming in. The pressure in our sinuses can change when our surrounding air pressure changes as well, and that can trigger headaches. And with decreasing pressure, so again, a storm system moving in, our atmospheric pressure at a certain location is lowering. The soft tissue around our joints can expand, leading to some pain in our joints. And these changes in pressure can also impact our blood pressure or blood sugar. So what's the forecast for atmospheric pressure over the next week or so? And we can see that we'll generally see a trend upwards in our pressure as we go into the weekend after we deal with some rain showers in our area to end this week. Generally fair weather for the weekend, and that will lead to our pressure increasing. So something to pay attention to if you have some of those ailments. Your changes in pressure can impact your health. We'll send it back to you, Jody and Kevin.
The aches and pains forecast, it's a real thing.
People know that. They know a storm is coming just by how they feel.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Right.
So there's,
It is.
you're onto something.
My backside's been hurting a lot because I'm getting kicked around after this long winter.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a